Danielle and Ian visit marine biologist Sally Carson at the Banfield Marine Station and find some very slimy slugs on the trail.
Yeah, these are banana slugs. They're native to this area. There's about 3 different types here. But the banana slug is the only slug that's native to the west coast. It's very closely related to the sea slug and the snails and all the bivalves, the mussels and the clams. It's also related to the octopus. Now it's different from the snails in the fact that it doesn't have a shell. It's all soft. It's a shell-less snail. If you look, here you can see the little stalks and the little dot on the end of the stalks. Those are the eyes. Do you know how they move? How are they crawling along?
A whole bunch of feet under them?
Well, actually, they just have one big foot. Let's turn this one over and have a look. It's got a big muscular foot on the bottom. Yeah, they have this slime on the outside of them. It's a glycoprotein. It's a protein with sugar. And if you get the slime on your hands, it's really hard to get off. It's very, very sticky. What do you think the slime would be used for?
To, like, if they're sticky or something, try to get them or something?
Yeah, they may use it as for protection. They're hard to hold on to because of that slime. But they don't have a shell for protection, and they like to be moist. So the slime protects them, prevents them from drying out. Apparently, if you touch your tongue to the slime of a banana slug, you feel a tingle. And what had you heard about toothaches, Danielle?
If you put slug slime or something on your tooth, it'll numb your tooth in case you have a toothache or something.
It numbs your tooth. Now, I've never tried it. Have you ever tried to put your tongue on the bottom of a banana slug? Should I try it or should you? You want to try it, Ian? No. You're not? Okay, let me try and I'll see what happens. I don't feel anything. Maybe we need a bigger slug or a smaller tongue.
There you go.
No, you try this one.
No.
No? Do you want to just try touching the slime to your tongue? Just the slime on your fingers? And see if you can feel anything?
Feels like jello.
Yeah, I didn't feel anything go.
How big do they get?
They get to be about 15 centimeters long. Do you know what they might eat?
Lettuce?
Yeah, they like lettuce. They like things in your garden. They'll feed on the grass and other plants. They usually hide during the day under leaf litter or under bushes or in the grass, areas where it's damp and moist. And they seem to be most active at night. And apparently they have a home shelter. After they've gone out and found something to eat, they return to the same shelter day after day. So it's going to be important for us to return them to where we collected them so that they can find their home shelter again.
And now, the amazing earthworm. Oops, better turn that light off. Direct sunlight can kill an earthworm. That's why they prefer to live underground. But they do like to come out after it rains and at night. So now, the amazing earthworm. Did you know earthworms actually eat earth? Or that if you cut an earthworm in the middle, one will grow into 2? And the earthworm's blood is pumped by not 1, not 3, but 10 hearts. Earthworms may not be the most talented creatures in the world, but they certainly have heart.
Owl TV visits Albuquerque, New Mexico with Jose to get a close-up look at bats with Dr. Scott Eltonbeck.
Well, we got one. You can see the bat hit from this side and it fell right into this little pocket. What kind of bat is it? This is a myotis. It's one of the little brown bats. It's one of the commonest kinds of bats that's found here in the canyon. These things forage up and down the canyon virtually all night long. Imagine if we keep the net up here all night, we'd get these probably clear up until morning. They'll sometimes fly right in your hand like this. This is humanensis.
What?
Myotis humanensis. It's another kind of myotis. It's a much smaller, much lighter colored bat.
What are you going to do with them? Are you going to let them go, or?
I think I'm going to take this one back to the lab and keep it for a few days to see if I can get some photographs of it drinking. but the other one we'll let go here before we leave.
Okay.
In some ways, bats are very, very different from other kinds of mammals, but in lots of ways they're very similar. For example, this wing we're looking at here, this long bone you see here is the same bone that you have in your forearm. This little hook that sticks out here is a thumb, just like your thumb, and it has 4 very, very long fingers that support the end of the wing. Bats are unique among flying animals in that they're the only ones that incorporate both the arm as well as the hind leg into the wing.
Dr. Altenbach, what kind of bat is this?
This is a bat that's found right here in New Mexico. It's called a pallet bat. They're a rather unique bat in that they catch insects on the ground. Most of the bats that we have here in this part of the country, as a matter of fact, virtually all the bats except 2 that we have in the United States and Canada are what are called insectivorous bats. They rely entirely on insects for food. You can see the teeth. The teeth look very, very jagged, but that's typical of a bat that eats insects. This is a skull of an insectivorous bat. You can see these teeth that are extremely sharp. The teeth back here seem to be very jagged, and essentially what they do is the sharp tips make breaks in the tough exoskeleton of an insect, and the shearing edges then compound those breaks, and it allows the bat to chew up very tough exoskeleton-covered insects that it uses for food. Now, certainly not all bats eat insects. There are bats, for example, that eat fish, fruit, pollen, and nectar. There are even bats which eat blood. There are 3 species of empire bats, and they're all found in Latin America.
How long will this bat live?
Bats are very long-lived. I can't really say how long pallet bats live, but a 20-year lifespan wouldn't be surprising. There are some kinds of bats that live longer than that. There are some little brown bats, for example, that have been recorded as living as long as 30 years. See if I can fold its wings up here.
What do they do during the day?
Well, this kind of bat will hang up in a roosting site, usually a crevice up in a rock outcrop, like a cliff face. And during the day, they'll become very metabolically inactive. That is, they let their metabolic processes slow down, their temperature falls until it gets just about the temperature of the surroundings. This is a means to save energy. A bat like this, being very, very small, and especially being able to fly, uses lots and lots of energy. So much energy, as a matter of fact, that if it didn't do that during the day, it would die. They can sustain their highly energy-demanding flight at night when they can eat insects, but during the day when they can't get access to insects and when it's dangerous for them to be out flying, they have to reduce their metabolic rate such that they won't starve to death. The little sounds you hear there are typical vocalizations of an upset big brown bat. The sounds that are produced there are much lower frequency than the sounds the bat uses for echolocation. Echolocation is this means the bat has of detecting its surroundings. An animal that moves around at night doesn't have high enough levels of light, so what it does, it makes its own information source. It makes very high frequency sounds. Those sounds progress through the air. If they hit objects, they'll bounce off, and the bat actually listens for the echoes of those little sounds. It can detect objects with reflected sound, just like you and I do with reflected light. Let's put him back here. He's getting a little more upset. As you can see, when we put him back in, they can move across the ground quite easily. These kinds of bats at least can. They're better climbing than they are at walking on a surface. Notice how he climbs head up there. He's holding his weight on his hands, really. A lot of the research I do involves analysis of the way bats move, the way they fly, the way they walk, how it is that they can make very sharp turns. We're going to take some high-speed still photographs of these pallet bats actually flying through this setup here. The reason we need to do this is that they move their wings so rapidly, up to about 10 times a second, that the human eye can't begin to see what's happening with those wings. This way we can completely freeze an instant in time. We've got a beam of light that actually shines through space onto a photocell, We have appropriate circuitry over here. That circuitry will cause the flash to fire as a bat breaks that beam of light. This way, everything is automatic. All I have to do is release the bat. It flies through there and it essentially takes its own picture. Okay, baby. Here we go. Exquisite little animal.
Imagine what life would be like if our taste buds were in our feet. Well, believe it or not, that's where they are on a housefly. A special report from Nikki Lewis.
Louis Martien lives on Praslin, which is the second largest island in the Seychelles. His back garden is full of tropical fruits, and also an animal that I've heard but never seen before, the Seychelles tree frog. Louis only speaks Creole, which is the Seychelles national language, and he knows exactly where to look for tree frogs. They are the largest frogs in the Seychelles, and in Creole, we call them carpeaux. Tree frogs are the only frogs in Seychelles with brown sticky pads on the end of their fingers and toes. These help them cling onto leaves and climb up trees without falling off. I asked Louis if they were always found in this sort of bush, but he told me they also like the papaya tree and the pineapple plant. Louis said the females are a light green color and the males are usually brown. Females are also bigger than the males. I wondered if they changed color, but he said they don't change much. Louis explained that tree frogs don't like the sun much and prefer to hide in the shade under leaves. Their big bulging eyes give them a wide-angle view and help them judge distances so they can ambush their dinner. Like most frogs, they mainly eat insects and are so good at jumping that they can catch them in midair. Louis told me they are usually quiet during the day, but at night, during the rainy season, you can sometimes hear them singing in a loud chorus. But it's only the males that sing, and it's usually to attract a female for breeding. Apparently, even though they live in trees for most of the year, they lay their eggs in streams. The little tadpoles live there for several months and then crawl out as baby froglets.
Ever hear of a snake with legs? The most primitive of living snakes, the boa constrictor, has spurs which are the remnants of hind legs. These spurs are no good for walking, but the male boa does have a use for them. During courtship, a male boa constrictor uses his spurs to tickle his mate.
Owl TV visits the Arizona desert with Pat as he goes searching for poisonous scorpions and snakes with Dr. Jerry Brewer. Dr. Brewer collects venoms for testing at the University of Arizona.
Oh, here's
I see it.
here's a hairy scorpion. Okay, get your vial. All right, take your large tweezers. In the box.
tell you what, you want to take him and reach right down, get him right here at the base of the tail. Make sure you don't injure him. Drop him into your vial. Very nice. A young hairy scorpion. Oh, look here. Look at this. There's a bark scorpion. He's going to be a little quicker. I'll take this one. This is our lethal scorpion. This particular scorpion here has caused fatalities. A large male. Yeah, that's nice. Look at the length of the tail segment.
I've met Jerry a couple times before, and he has taken me out to observe and see the rattlesnakes and scorpions and black widows.
They like a lot of vegetation. Really good for their camouflage technique.
Yeah.
Don't ever look for a whole snake. Watch for part of a snake. Okay, I do see a very large snake from right here. Now, see how that body's blending in with that rock?
Uh-huh.
That is a large rattlesnake.
Why isn't he rattling?
Well, he wants us to walk on by and not disturb him. He wants to use that camouflage technique. And that's why different snakes come in different colors and different patterns, is to stay out of the bellies of their enemies. This is guaranteeing his life for one more day. Let's pull him out of here. Why don't you open up that box and we'll pull him out and take a little better look at him here. He's pretty calm to be a big guy like this. Look at the weight on this guy. Yeah, that's a fine specimen.
Yeah, nice, pretty big.
Nice big hiss come out of him there. He's letting us know that he doesn't like this. You can see, though, that he's really not a violent animal. Even with us here intruding upon him, he's still very docile. We'll take him back to the lab. He'll give us a real good venom yield.
How much venom would this guy give?
This guy here, I figure, will give us about 800 milligrams if he gives a real good yield. That is one beautiful specimen.
Oh, Jerry, will you put this snake back?
Oh yeah, we don't like to keep anything out of its natural habitat for any length of time.
I got interested in snakes when I moved to Arizona, and when I first saw them I thought they were really neat, and I like to study them.
Exoskeleton, which covers the entire animal, you can actually see even their eye caps have a scale on them. And on rattlesnakes such as this is a Crotalus atrox or a western diamondback. Each time they shed, they gain a segment on their rattle. And each time they shed, they also get a set of new fangs. They will shed the old fang, and the new functional fang will come into place. What we have here, Pat, is a couple of western diamondback rattlesnakes, which are found locally here in the Arizona area. This is one of our most widespread rattlesnakes in the nation. It's a very large snake. They can attain the length of up to 7 feet. You can hear this one rattling here when we gently agitate him. And when they're fully warm, say at around 80 degrees, he can modulate this rattle approximately 80 times per second. Actually, a rattlesnake has nothing else to move at you. They have no eyelids, they have no ears, they have no arms, and the only thing he really has to do when he is scared and he's approached is to flick out his chemoreceptive tongue and pick up the little molecules in the air and rattle his tail. And he rattles the tail because he is nervous, he's scared.
Snakes are 5 times more afraid of you than you are of them. The only time a snake might ever attack you, which I don't think it will, would just defend itself, would be if you really, really had it cornered or really agitated it. It might come at you, but it wouldn't even come close to chasing you or trying to get out and get you.
Okay, this animal here is an eastern cottonmouth, Histrodon piscivorus. He comes from the eastern United States, very common, found in the Florida area. He's called a cottonmouth because of when he's alarmed and not having a rattle, this animal does not rattle, but he'll coil back and actually open his mouth. The dark area of the snake in the center of the body makes the mouth tend to appear to be a large cotton ball. This is called gaping. You notice these snakes are not lunging and trying to bite. Snakes are not mean. Snakes are very gentle and docile creatures, and they should never be destroyed. And they should never be worn on hats or on belts. It's very unfair to the animal. All snakes want to do is be left alone. So if you do find a snake and he's in his natural habitat, Enjoy his beauty, enjoy his colors, but leave him alone. He belongs there.
We're doing hibernation studies on rattlesnakes in order to find out when and why they go into hibernation and when and why they come out and what happens in the way of their metabolism during that period of time. So what we're doing is trying to understand what in the chemistry of the animal's body precipitates hibernation. And perhaps from that we can help man to hibernate in space.
The agama lizard is the most common lizard in West Africa. These active lizards dart around all day chasing and even leaping after insects. They also argue a lot. As do most reptiles, agamas lay eggs instead of giving birth to live young. And although the hatchlings are only half the size, they act exactly like their parents.
Owl TV visits the Galapagos Islands with Carlos, our guide, Ryan and Eric to look at land iguanas.
Yeah.
And what do they eat?
They feed on this cactus you see right there. They can eat the pad, the fruit, the flower, and also...
With all and spines on it?
Usually when you see an iguana eating the cactus pad, he will try to clear the spines, you know, like to take off all the spines from the pad,
How?
but by scratching it. But at the end, he will just eat it with the spine. They don't digest the spines. They also eat this portulaca you see here, this plant, which is very succulent, and they obtain a lot of fresh water from the cactus and this plant like this.
And how do they get the food? It's so high.
Well, normally they have to wait until a cactus pad or a fruit or a flower falls down on the ground. When there is not much vegetation and there's a lot of competition for food. I have seen cases of land iguanas doing so many things that it's astounding. For example, one day I saw a land iguana standing on two legs.
Standing on two legs, what was he doing?
Well, he was trying to reach one of the pads.
Acrobat.
Okay? Yeah, acrobat, right. They rarely climb the cactus. But, again, I have seen them doing it.
And they seem to like stuff their mouth. Do they have teeth?
They have a very fine line of teeth, and they have a very fat tongue, which they use a lot.
They must have to swallow the fruit whole, almost.
No, they bite it. They bite it, and then they try to crush it, and then swallow it. Some of the small ones, the hatchlings, will feed on bugs, even grasshoppers, eventually. Yeah.
How do they nest?
They don't lay their eggs in the same place where they live. They come out and they dig a different hole, and that's where they lay their eggs. The iguanas just simply put the egg on the ground, and it's the ground that takes care of the incubation, the heat of the ground.
Yeah.
Then they hatch and they come out.
Does anything eat the iguanas?
Yeah, especially when they're small, they have many predators.
Frigate bird, maybe?
Well, frigate bird, very rarely. Hawks will do it more constantly, and then also owls.
Can this land iguana swim?
No. No, these are all terrestrial reptiles.
Can
And
you just find them here?
there are several populations here on the archipelago.
How long do they live?
They can live a very long life. I mean, 70, 80 years, that's more or less what...
Wow.
And those guys are really big, and they get to weight from 12 kilograms easily.
Do they find it hard to run along on the volcanic rocks?
Oh no. Many people think these animals must be kind of a slow motion animals, but they can go just really fast. Like that.
Do the marine iguanas and the land iguanas live in the same houses?
Well, no. The marine iguanas always live exposed on the rocks, very close to the water, day and night. The land iguanas, though, they do come into holes in the ground during the night. It could be dig out or be a natural made hole sometimes underneath a rock.
Are the iguanas very territorial?
Well, yeah. The land iguanas are territorialists all year round. They have this aggressive display, which they have by nodding their heads up and down like this. In other words, when you see an iguana doing this to you, I mean, it's
Get out of
bad,
there,
yeah.
yeah.
Here's a scrambled up fish. The hagfish of the eastern Pacific Ocean has 4 hearts, each beating a separate rhythm. When it wants to avoid an enemy, it secretes a blob of jelly, and then to escape the jelly, it ties its body in a knot and pulls itself through itself. The hagfish breathes through its nose, not its gills, and it sees through its skin. And it doesn't have a demanding appetite. It can go for a whole year without eating. Maybe it's just too confused.
Ira and Jessica visit the Banfield Marine Station to talk to marine biologist Sally Carson about a very gooey fish.
These are hagfish, also known as slimy. They're a very primitive fish. They're quite closely related to lampreys.
What's that jump right there?
Well, you'll find out. Either of you want to hold one? Now they have, let me just show you a few things first. They can suck onto you. They have a sucking tight mouth, little sensory tentacles, and they have little eye spots. Those little white structures that look like eyes are actually just light sensory organs. Not real eyes. I don't see images with them. They're pretty slimy, so they're hard to grab onto. You want to hold one, Ira? Not this. There we go. They're called slime eels because when you disturb them, there we go. When you disturb them, they make all this slime. And look at the net.
Sounds like a spider web.
Any idea why they produce all this slime?
For enemies?
For enemies, for protection. That's right. And how would that protect them, do you think?
Get them sort of tangled up, stuck together.
Get them stuck together? It might. How do fish breathe?
Their gills.
With their gills. And other fish won't eat the hagfish because they'll get caught up in all of this slime. And then they can't breathe. Now what about the hagfish? What happens to it if it stays in the slime? See how they encase themselves in that slime? Now what happens if they can't get out?
They die?
Yeah, they also suffocate. They need oxygen to breathe. So how do you think they'd get out of the slime?
Move around?
Move around, yeah. What they do is they'll actually tie themselves into a knot and then pull themselves through that knot, strip the slime off their body. You know what hagfish eat? Well, you'll notice that they don't swim very well. They're very tiny, snake-like movement. So they couldn't catch a live fish. So they like to eat dead fish. Because they don't have a jaw, how do you think they get into a dead fish? How do they eat it?
Go right into their mouth.
That's right, through their mouth and their eye sockets and their gills. And then they digest the fish from the inside out and leave just a bag of skin and bones.
Gross.
You see how they curl up? That's the resting position. And they sit on the bottom. These are deep water fish, so they like to live in darkness.
If you've enjoyed OWL TV, be sure to read OWL Magazine.